If you've ever walked into a room and felt like people were looking at you for no clear reason, that's not your imagination. One of the clearest signs of being highly attractive is how much attention you command without even trying. You're not performing, you're not loud, and yet somehow people are just drawn to your energy. It's the way you carry yourself, the calm confidence you radiate. It's like a silent magnet that turns heads without saying a word. And sometimes, it's not even the attention you notice. It's the way people go quiet when you speak, or how they lean in just a little closer when you're sharing something. Here's another thing. Some people find you intimidating, and that's not a bad thing. That usually happens when your presence is powerful enough to make others feel a little insecure, especially if they're not used to a woman who knows her worth. It's not about arrogance, it's about quiet certainty. You don't chase approval, you don't need to prove yourself, and that in itself becomes a challenge for people who are used to superficial validation. You stand in your space fully, and it can shake the ones who aren't ready for it. You're also the kind of woman who people remember days later, weeks later. Your name comes up in conversations not because you did something crazy or wild, but because your vibe lingers. The way you made them feel, the way you made eye contact, or even just the authenticity in how you listened. It leaves an imprint. Attractive women don't try to be unforgettable. They just are, because their presence isn't diluted by trying to be like everyone else. And you'll notice, the compliments you get, they go beyond the surface. It's not just "you're pretty," it's things like "you have such a calming presence," or "there's something about the way you speak," or "you're really easy to talk to." People see beauty in your depth, and they notice the parts of you that have nothing to do with makeup or outfits. They recognize your intelligence, your warmth, your ability to be both strong and soft at the same time. Last sign, and it's a powerful one. Quality people gravitate toward you. You're not flooded with shallow attention. Instead, the people who approach you are often sincere, emotionally aware, and genuinely interested in getting to know you. You don't need to put yourself out there aggressively. The right energy finds you. Because the truth is, when you're deeply attractive, not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually, energetically, you don't need to chase connection. You naturally attract it. You draw attention without trying because there's something magnetic about you that can't be easily explained. It's not about what you're wearing or how much makeup you have on. It's something far deeper than physical beauty, something that lives in your energy, your expression, your confidence when you walk into a space. People turn their heads not because you're doing anything loud or flashy, but because you radiate a calm, grounded presence that makes them curious. You're not trying to be noticed, yet you are. The way you carry yourself sends a silent message that you're someone worth knowing, someone with self-respect and quiet strength. There's grace in how you move, not necessarily elegance in a traditional sense, but a rhythm that reflects a woman who is deeply comfortable in her own skin. People pick up on that, even if they don't know how to describe it. They find themselves watching you, not because you're performing, but because your presence holds their attention without demanding it. This kind of allure is rare and deeply powerful. You're the type who might be standing in the back of the room, not saying much, not trying to be the center of attention, but somehow people still keep glancing over at you. It's in your stillness, your ability to simply be without needing validation or applause. You may have noticed people pausing mid-sentence when you walk in, or unconsciously adjusting their posture around you. That's not random. That's the effect of someone whose energy speaks before she does. What makes this even more powerful is the fact that you're not trying to make it happen. There's no chase for approval. You're not bending to meet others' expectations. You're fully in your own energy, which makes people want to come closer to figure out what it is that's different about you. You might notice that strangers often try to start conversations with you in public places, that people open up to you easily, or that you receive compliments in places where others wouldn't expect them. These aren't just gestures of politeness. These are signals that your presence stands out. You could be in a room full of loud personalities and still be the one people remember later. That's because your appeal isn't rooted in volume, it's rooted in authenticity. You're not showing off, but your energy is showing up. You may have found that others often assume you have a lot of admirers or that you're hard to approach, not because you act like you're above anyone, but because your vibe feels elevated, intentional, strong. This can sometimes make people hesitate before they speak to you, not out of disinterest, but out of being genuinely unsure how to approach someone who feels self-contained and fully centered. When you draw attention without trying, it's not about being noticed in a moment. It's about being felt, being seen on a deeper level, and leaving an impression that doesn't fade just because you're no longer in the room. You intimidate some people, and not because you're cold or unkind, but because your presence is strong enough to unsettle anyone who isn't used to genuine confidence. You walk into a room and don't look around for permission to be there. You don't shrink to make others feel more comfortable. You don't alter your tone or posture to seem more palatable. That in itself makes some people nervous. There's a natural authority in your energy that doesn't need to be loud or aggressive. It simply is. You can say very little and still command respect. You may notice people hesitate before speaking to you or second-guess their words in your presence. That's often because they can feel your awareness, your ability to read between the lines, your unwillingness to tolerate games or inauthentic behavior. You carry yourself in a way that says you've done the inner work. You're not looking for someone to complete you or tell you who you are. That self-assurance shines through, and it unsettles those who rely on surface-level validation or empty charm. You don't laugh at things that aren't funny. You don't fake interest just to avoid awkwardness. And when you speak with clarity and calm conviction. You're not trying to dominate anyone, but your quiet confidence speaks louder than any performance ever could. Some people mistake this for arrogance, but it's not that you think you're better than anyone. It's that you no longer need external approval to feel valuable. That kind of self-possession triggers insecurity in people who haven't reached that place within themselves. You may have noticed that some people either instantly admire you or feel defensive around you. T's rarely neutral. That's because your presence acts like a mirror. It reflects back to others what they might be avoiding in themselves. Your independence highlights someone else's neediness. Your emotional control highlights someone else's volatility. Your focus and boundaries show people what they've been lacking in their own lives. This isn't your fault. It's just the natural impact of being grounded in who you are. You don't just look put together. You are put together emotionally, mentally, even spiritually. You face challenges and use them to grow, not to harden. That combination of strength and self-awareness can make people feel exposed around you, especially those who are used to hiding behind charm or image. You might even notice that some people try to challenge you, test you, or dismiss you at first. That's their discomfort talking. People sometimes mock or avoid what they don't understand, but deep down, even they know your strength isn't something to ignore. You don't try to fit into places where you don't belong. You're not interested in people-pleasing or playing small to be liked. You take up space in a way that's calm but undeniable. And while that will draw the right people toward you, it will also push away the ones who aren't ready for a woman who fully owns her power. People remember you long after you've left the room, not because you did anything dramatic or loud, but because your presence leaves a lasting imprint that's hard to explain and even harder to forget. You might not even realize the effect you have while you're in the moment. You could be having a casual conversation or simply offering a genuine smile, and yet something about the way you show up lingers in people's minds. They recall the way you made them feel seen or heard, the warmth in your eyes, the calm you carried even in a noisy environment. It's not about having a perfect look or the most stylish outfit. It's about energy. There's something steady and intentional in the way you interact. You don't overextend yourself to impress, and yet you connect deeply in a matter of minutes. People find themselves replaying small moments with you, whether it was a kind comment you made, the way you listened without interrupting, or even the pause you took before responding. Those moments, though simple, feel rare in a world full of surface-level interaction. You bring a depth that people aren't used to, and it resonates beyond your words. You leave spaces better than you found them, not through grand gestures, but through your way of being. You may notice that people reach out to you weeks later referencing something you said, or asking your thoughts on something you barely remember mentioning. That's not by accident. You leave a sense of realness in your wake. You're not trying to be anyone other than who you are, and that authenticity stands out in a world where most people are projecting curated versions of themselves. There's a sense of stability in you that makes others feel safe, even when you don't say much. When you speak, you choose your words carefully. When you listen, you're fully present, and people feel that. Most are used to being only half heard or quickly dismissed, but when you engage, you're fully there. You don't fake enthusiasm or pretend to agree just to avoid discomfort. You offer truth with kindness, curiosity without judgment. That balance makes people walk away, feeling like they just had a real moment, not just a polite exchange. Even your silences carry weight. There's something in your pauses that makes people reflect. You're not rushing to fill space or demand attention. That confidence in stillness allows others to open up around you without feeling pushed or evaluated. It's the kind of presence that allows others to drop their guard. They may not even realize why they feel so drawn to you until much later, and by then, you're already on their mind, because your impact wasn't based on performance. It was rooted in something deeper. People remember you not because you shouted the loudest or made the biggest impression in the moment, but because you brought a level of substance, groundedness, and truth that quietly stayed with them after everything else faded away. You receive genuine compliments that go beyond looks because people can sense there's more to you than what meets the eye. You've probably noticed that when someone compliments you, it's not just about how beautiful you are, it's about your energy, your character, your presence. They might say you have a calming vibe, a warm smile that feels safe, or a voice that makes people feel like they're being truly heard. These compliments are often unexpected, and they hit deeper because they're not rehearsed lines. They come from people who have taken the time to feel your essence, rather than just glance at your appearance. This is what happens when your beauty is more than just physical. It becomes something felt on a level words often struggle to describe. The compliments you get often have emotional weight. Instead of "you're hot" or "you look great," you hear things like "there's something about you" or "I feel like I can talk to you forever." People are not just reacting to your outer shell. They're moved by the way you carry yourself, by your presence that brings comfort or excitement or inspiration. You radiate a quiet kind of charisma that doesn't beg for praise but earns admiration. It's this natural mix of strength and softness that makes people want to not just compliment you, but understand you, connect with you. You're not just attractive, you're memorable. And people want to express that in ways that go beyond surface-level flattery. You might notice how often people comment on your vibe, your energy, the peace they feel around you. That's not something you can fake. It's the result of the inner work you've done, the self-awareness and emotional intelligence you carry into every interaction. People can sense when someone is genuinely grounded, and when they feel it, they speak to it. It's why even strangers sometimes tell you things like, "You have such a kind energy," or "I feel better just talking to you." These compliments aren't about your clothes or your hair. They're about who you are at your core and how that impacts the world around you. There's also a different kind of attention that comes your way, one that's rooted in respect. When someone tells you they admire how you handle conflict, how you remain calm under pressure, or how thoughtful you are with your words, they're seeing qualities that go deeper than skin. These are the compliments that stay with you because they affirm the parts of you that don't fade with time. You're not constantly fishing for validation, and yet it comes to you naturally because people can't help but acknowledge the beauty that comes from your presence, not just your appearance. Sometimes the compliments catch you off guard. Maybe someone tells you how inspiring your mindset is or how much they appreciate your honesty. Maybe it's the way you walk into a room and light it up without needing to be the loudest voice. These moments are telling. They're proof that the way you live, the way you treat others, and the way you show up is being noticed. People are drawn to you because of what you represent. Someone who is both kind and strong, open yet grounded, expressive but never desperate for attention. You're not always aware of how impactful you are, and yet the world around you responds to you in ways that make it clear you're different. When people go out of their way to appreciate things that aren't visible at first glance, it's because you're touching them in places beauty alone cannot reach. You're being seen for your depth, your integrity, your essence, and those are the compliments that tell you you're not just physically attractive, you're soulfully attractive too. Quality people are drawn to you even when you're not actively seeking them because your energy naturally filters out the ones who aren't aligned with your value. You don't chase attention or validation, and that very choice creates an unspoken boundary that only the emotionally mature and self-aware can cross. There's something about the way you hold yourself, the ease in your solitude, and the quiet confidence you exude that signals you're not looking to be completed, you're already whole. And people who have done the same work within themselves recognize that instantly. You're like a lighthouse in a world of distractions. You don't move or flash, but you're impossible to ignore by those who know what to look for. It's not about being cold or closed off. You're open, but selective. You give people the space to show you who they are before letting them in. You're not impressed by grand gestures or empty charm, and that naturally discourages anyone who isn't ready to connect on a deeper level. This kind of discernment sends a strong message. It tells people that if they want to be close to you, they have to bring more than attraction. They have to bring intention, consistency, and presence. And the ones who are capable of that don't feel threatened by your standards. They feel drawn to them. You may find that without trying, you attract conversations that go far beyond surface-level small talk. People open up to you quickly, not because you're probing, but because your presence feels safe, non-judgmental, and grounded. You listen in a way that makes people feel seen. You respond in a way that shows thought, not just reaction. These are qualities that quality people seek out, not because they're rare in you, but because they're rare in general. And when someone recognizes those traits, they want to stay connected. They want to build something, not just experience a moment. You also bring a kind of emotional maturity that challenges people to meet you at your level. You're not afraid to speak your truth, to set boundaries, or to walk away from what doesn't align with your peace. That's magnetic to people who are tired of drama and games. It's not that you make love hard, it's that you make it real, and those who are truly looking for something meaningful will always gravitate toward that. They'll feel like they've finally found someone who sees through the noise and wants something deeper, more stable, more human. Even when you're in a season of solitude, the right kind of people find their way to you. It's not because you're doing more, but because you're being more of who you are. There's no need for constant effort or outreach, because your life already reflects clarity and calm. People who are aligned with that energy are naturally pulled in. They don't feel the need to chase or prove. They simply arrive because you've made space for them without even realizing it. That's what it means to be deeply attractive to the right ones. You don't have to sift through noise to find them, because your life already filters out what doesn't belong. The way you show up, the way you honor yourself, and the way you move through the world quietly sends out signals that only those who truly see will answer. And when they do, the connection feels easy, grounded, and real, because it's based not on effort, but on alignment.